The Radio Forest Podcast.
Hey, Forrest.
Hey, Greg, what's happening? How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. It's a great day at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah, tell me about the induction class for 2023.
You know, we announced it today. There's 13 amazing artists. It's an incredibly diverse group of people that kind of underscores that rock and roll isn't one single sound, but it's many. And have you shared them with your listeners yet today, or is this going to be the unveiling?
This is it right here.
All right. I'll read a few. If you want to join in, please do.
Sure.
But performers category, Kate Bush is going in. Sheryl Crow, Missy Misdemeanor Elliott, George Michael, Willie Nelson, Rage Against the Machine, The Spinners. And then we have some committees that give the Musical Influence and Musical Excellence Awards. These people are inducted as well. DJ Kool Herc, the godfather of hip hop. Link Wray, the great guitar player. Musical Excellence is Chaka Khan. Al Kooper, Bernie Taupin, Elton John's lyricist partner. And then the Ahmet Ertegun Award being inducted in that category is Don Cornelius, the founder of Soul Train and producer and on-air host.
Now, I was a little surprised that George Michael won the fan vote, and pretty early he took off. He stayed in the lead, and a lot of like hard rock fans were like, hey, how come Soundgarden and Iron Maiden aren't going in? But they didn't even win the fan vote. They're alive, they're currently touring, and then someone like George Michael, who isn't traditionally hard rock, runs away with it. What do you think that is? Is that just more fans of George Michael?
I think it's a little bit of that, and also not to take anything away from the others, but George Michael is massively popular globally. And while he hasn't released a record in decades because he's been gone, he massive fan base on a global scale. And some of our artists don't necessarily translate in that same way. Now, Iron Maiden does have a great, global following as well. I get that. But to turn the tables the other way, Kate Bush, wildly popular in the UK, has really not had huge success in the US up until recently, but wildly popular in the UK.
Now, I've been a little critical in the past of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but I've changed my tune, and let me tell you how that happened. It's been talking to you and then you educating me on how this process works. So then I realized it's more of a voting process. It's people that are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that are deciding. It's not Greg Harris or critics for the Rolling Stone magazine picking who should go in. It's a selection committee, and it's like a very detailed process. And also I realized who I think should go in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I'm one guy. I'm not in charge of rock and roll, and it's very different. There's blues, there's hip hop, there's all kinds of influences. So can you once again explain how a band gets nominated and then entered into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Absolutely. So there's two processes. The first one is the for the performers, and there's a nominating committee that meets. It's about 25 people. We each nominate two, and really discuss them. And out of that meeting comes a ballot. The ballot this year had 14 individuals on the ballot, and that ballot goes out to all the other living inductees, as well as some industry people, some writers, some historians. It's a little over 1,000 voters, and those ballots all come back. And usually this time around, it was the top 7 vote getters get in, and it's picked by their peers. Then away from that, there's committees that look at musical excellence, musical influence. And for instance, in the Ahmet Ertegun, you can't have Don Cornelius as the producer promoter of Soul Train in the general performer ballot going up against Rage Against the Machine and others like that. So it's a committee that looks at that excellence. But the primary way for the performers is through the bigger, broader ballot. And then there's some, like Chaka Khan was on the regular ballot, this I think 6 times. And the committee kept saying, this person's important, this person's important. So the Musical Excellence Committee then took that information and said, you know what? She deserves it. Let's put her in.
You guys have also been pretty open about criticism. I've seen you sort of roll with criticism from Axl Rose, Steve Miller, and even Dolly Parton. So talk about how you think that's their right to say whatever they feel about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And I've heard you say before, that's completely fine.
Yeah. Most of it stems from us not doing a good job of communicating to them exactly what we do here. And even Steve Miller, once he visited and saw our education programs at the museum, he became an advocate for the museum. Still didn't sway much on the induction process, but on the museum, he became an advocate. Dolly, once she understood that she wasn't going in as an anomaly, she was going in where Bob Wills, Hank Williams, Bill Monroe, Johnny Cash, other great country artists were already in, then she really embraced it. But initially she thought that maybe there's other rock artists that are more deserving than her. She has a tradition of being very humble. I think she once tried to decline a presidential medal and things like that. But she came around and delivered. I'll never forget seeing her at the ceremony performing a duet with Rob Halford of Judas Priest doing Jolene. That was pretty wild, and Rob was completely loving it.
I think that adds more credit to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame when Judas Priest is like, absolutely Dolly Parton. So then fans go, oh, okay, maybe it's not. And I've heard you say this. It's not four white dudes with guitars in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's Dolly Parton. And if Rob Halford knows Jolene, I think that changes the temperature a little bit of these bands.
I agree. And that's part of the voting process. It's an election by their peers or the primary voters. It's not a popularity contest. The fan vote can get skewed by whoever has the most followers or the most, the biggest fan base. It doesn't necessarily mean they have, the greatest artistic impact and influence on others. Now, the kicker is that ballot of 14 was terrific. Only 7 are going in. The other 7 will be eligible next year, and the whole process will start over. But today we're celebrating those that got the votes and those that are going in.
Now, how do you guys pick on who inducts who? Does the person doing the inducting, do they have to already be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? I think of like the connection between Rush and McCartney and the Foo Fighters. So does the person getting inducted, does Kate Bush give you a list of who she'd like to have? And do they have to already be in the Hall of Fame?
It's a bit of an iterative process, and it's they don't have to be in the Hall of Fame. It's a great way for us to connect some of these artists with a new generation of somebody that they influenced or somebody that cares about them. And as I think about that, I think about, well, when the Allman Brothers went in, Sheryl Crow inducted them. She was a younger artist that had played with them and performed with them before. I think that's correct. I'll have to double check my stuff, but I'm pretty sure she inducted them. So you get a little bit of that crossover, and it's a chance to bring the generations together. Of course, when Ringo Starr went as a solo artist, Paul McCartney inducted him. When Bill Withers, Lean on Me, went in, I believe John Legend inducted him, and then he jammed and performed with Stevie Wonder. So it's these type of combinations that connect yesterday and today that are really powerful and exciting.
I want to ask you a question now, a little bit different than the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Have you ever had a motorcycle crash? And I ask this because I've got a classic Triumph, and I crashed it this year, but it's the best thing I ever did because now I completely redid the whole thing, and I got pretty lucky. But if you ride long enough, you get into these scary situations. How about you?
Yeah, I had a 1957 Triumph Tiger, and I got hit, sort of just hit while I was on a bridge by a car. And luckily, I ended up sort of standing on top of the bike in the railing, and it hit my leg, but I got out of it better than I could have. So, what year's your Triumph?
71. I've got a Bonneville, but it's all bobbed out. But I changed the paint, put a bigger fender on it, put an LED headlight on it. I wanted to keep it like period specific. Yeah. But then I was like, well, this isn't exactly a safe bike. It's got no turn signals. So let's update a little bit of the features so I can look a little bit better on the road.
Yeah. You got to be careful. Mine was a Tiger, which was the same as a Bonneville, but a single carb.
Yeah.
Great bike. I miss it. I wasn't smart enough to hang on to it.
How about Record Store Day? Did you go buy anything this year? Are you still in that world?
I am still in that world. We sell a lot of vinyl at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame now.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And I still collect, but I didn't buy anything this year. I feel embarrassed to say that on air, but truth be told, I didn't. I'm still into it and still love it and still play records at home.
Let me get your thoughts on this. Did you see that recent study that 50% of all current vinyl buyers don't own a record player? What do you think that attributes it to?
I think everybody's living their life through their phone so much that it's really great when you see live music when you see a larger than life video, and when you can actually hold a record in your hands. They can get the songs elsewhere, but they want to have that piece, and I'm thrilled to hear that. I think the other stat that was out there is vinyl outsold CDs.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a commentary on the state of CDs more so
Yeah,
than
I
vinyl.
think so. Yeah.
But I will tell you, my son is a musician, and he's putting out vinyl, and the wait time to get in the queue with some of these vinyl pressing plants is huge, which tells me the demand for their services is great.
Yeah, I talked to the Kinks recently, and they said it's a year. It's a year minimum to get vinyl press, so that really dictates when they can release records.
Yeah,
Greg Harris.
Stuff, what was once old is now new, and much like I think as fans of rock and roll, we love the stuff that we grew up with. We love the stuff that mattered, but everybody's still making great music, and reconnecting it through the induction is really fun.
Greg Harris is the president and CEO of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The class of 2023 being inducted was announced today. Greg, do you have any idea about when this induction ceremony will take place and where it'll air?
Yeah. So the ceremony is going to be November 3rd. It's in Brooklyn at the basketball arena, Barclays Arena, great venue. We've used it before. People should go to rockhall.com. They can get ticket information. They can find out how we have a lot of content about these artists, and we're going to celebrate them all summer long. And then the broadcast partner is going to be announced at a slightly later date as well, so they can catch this wherever they are. And we'll get the word out about all those things. But rockhall.com is the place, or follow us on social. And we're thrilled for this class, and we want to celebrate them on November 3rd in Brooklyn.
Well, Greg Harris, a pleasure to talk to you again, man, and congratulations on the new class.
Forrest, my pleasure. Best to you and all your listeners. Cheers.
All right, we'll see you.